Hey you guys, Danny here, and finally today we are talking about tarot spellwork after the collapse of YouTube on Sunday. So I'm gonna jump right in and get right to it. So, are you ready? I'm so ready. I'm gonna start off with a disclaimer, right? This is to show you the way that I integrate tarot into my spell work, right? So my tarot practice and my spell practice kind of combine, and this is how I do some of my spells. So I wanted to share that with you, but that's to say this is my way. It doesn't mean it's the right way. Your spell work is yours, right? So if there's something that resonates with you and you want to use that, perfect. If you love everything, perfect. If something doesn't feel right, if you need a substitute, if you want to use other things or more things, or you get the picture. You do what's right for you. This is just a guide. So let's get started in the scope of what do you do when you don't know what you want to do. So in my case, I was going into this looking for a spell to do for us as a collective, the people of Tarot-thon and YouTube, right? As a collective. So I really didn't know what I wanted to do going in there. Another instance where you might feel like that is maybe you're going into a new or a full moon ritual. You're not really sure what you need to work on. You could pull some cards beforehand, or you can do the exercise that I'm going to show you guys today. Or again, you can go in knowing, okay? So first things first, you got to choose a deck. So for me, for my purpose and intent, I wanted something, again, for the collective. So I chose something that was highly recognizable, and that is just the Rider-Waite-Smith, because I felt like this is the best way to go for this type of spell work. For you, I recommend doing the same. If you're going for something in particular, let's just say a creative idea, right? And you want to use the Ace of Wands for that. You want to start something new, start something creative. Maybe you're going with the Ace of Wands. Make sure that that vibe that you want is reflected. If you have multiple tarot decks, if you have a tarot collection, make sure that you go towards the deck that's either calling you or the one that has the Ace of Wands that corresponds with the vibe that you're going for. I hope that makes sense. I feel like I over-explained that a little bit. Do the one that feels right. Do the one that goes with the vibe is basically what I'm saying. So again, so for this one, I chose the Rider-Waite-Smith. So from there, I didn't want to do a spread about it. I just kind of wanted to allow the universe, my spirits, to guide me in a certain way. So what I did was I started shuffling the deck, and as I went, I set my intention to find a great spell for us to use. So as I was doing so, I had a couple of cards fly out. So what I did was I laid those cards out, and I took a moment to meditate. I took a moment to take in what was before me. And then for me, I added another tool. Now, I will go through this initial spell with the basics, and then I'll add layers. But for this, since I'm telling a story, I'm gonna add a layer right now. So for this, I grabbed my pendulum, okay? So with my pendulum, I set my intention, and allowed it to go around in the cards, and it chose the one that was best for this energy, and that was the 10 of Pentacles. And I love this because right away I thought of a happy family, which then led me to a happy home, because I always like to think of this as like the great-grandfather, the grandmother, the granddaughter, the great-grandchild, you know, like a whole family here. And then we have the two dogs, we have these grapes, the opulence, and then the house surrounding. So I thought a happy home. is a great thing to bring peace and harmony, to bring safety and comfort, love and abundance to your space. Kind of encompassing the whole idea of this card and creating that wonderful home space. Now, home is a relative word. It could be the place where you are. It could be with your family, whether that be big or small, just you, your pets, whatever it is. So we're gonna create a happy home spell. So we're gonna start with, again, basics. We're gonna start with the basics and then build from there. So if I was going to do just bottom line, I want a happy home spell. I want to make sure that I'm setting my boundaries that are healthy with my family, bringing that wealth and abundance, safety, protection, joy, and happiness. So I'm going to set that intention, and I'm going to place that intention upon the card first and foremost. And then my favorite thing to do for a basic spell: card, crystal, candle, all the C's. So the 3 C's are my basic spells. I love to do those for like work. I'll put it on my desk. I'll get the card that I want. I'll get the crystal. I'll get a candle. So just a basic, what do? White candle to represent all the things. So you set your intention on your white candle. Clear quartz is the all-around crystal. Set your intention, you're good to go. With candles, I like to feed these spells, so if I can, I will allow this to burn out. Sometimes I'll let it burn all at once. Other times, if I'm trying to bring something in, I will snuff it out. If I'm trying to release something, I will blow it out. Otherwise, I let it burn out. So for this, we're trying to bring stuff in. So if you do need to put this out for safety reasons, I recommend snuffing. That's just for me. You can, of course, do whatever you want to do. Just be safe. It's fire. So that would be my basic spell. So what about layers? So let's talk about layers when it comes to the cards first. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn you guys upside down. Well, not upside down. I always want to say upside down. I'm gonna turn you upside down. That will make you sick. I'm gonna turn you to where you can see a bird's eye view of my desk, right? So you can kind of see as I place the things down, and we add and talk about those things from there. Okay. All right, so here's our basic spell. Now, side note, I did mention I like to feed my spells sometimes, but I realized that I didn't. I didn't kind of explain what that means. So what I mean by that is I would maybe put this on my altar with a house blessing. I might even put this in the main room of my house. And what I mean by that is I would set this up, and I would burn my candle until it goes out. Now, whether that be continuously or if I had to snuff it and come back to it, I would let that burn out, and that signifies my spell as being done. However, if I want to feed this spell, I may use up my candle, leave this set up, and when I feel like I would like to continue this spell or kind of give this spell another boost, then I would grab another candle, reset my intention, and go there. And then I could also add some of the layers, change layers, and the like. So that's kind of what I mean by like feeding your spell. And again, even if you're in the middle of this spell, let's say you started burning it, you did this for the first night, the second night you want to add one layer to this and put it burning for an hour or two, let that sink in. Then you want to change the layer or add another layer, right? Then you would again light your candle, and you can feed it in those different ways by adding and subtracting. You can also feed your spell. So there's, again, so many different layers. This could be done, oh my gosh, you can do this all year, right? You can keep this up all year and constantly be adding, subtracting, and rearranging for this same card, this same spell. So again, here's our basic spell. We have our white candle, clear quartz, done. Now, of course, you'll see my piece of sage here. I always set my space, but if you're doing spell work, I'm sure you already know to, set that sacred space before you begin any kind of spell work. And if not, I'm sorry I waited this long to tell you. So, okay, now let's go into how you can layer with your cards. When it comes to our spell work, I know for me, I like to always work with intents. Now, a lot of the times I will work with the feeling, right? So when I look at this card, it invokes the feeling, right, of being safe and amongst people that I love, having everything that I want and I need, just that contented, happy life, right? To create our happy home. So we may be talking a lot of happy, right? We might say happy a lot. But what I do is I always set that intention. I'll say it to myself. Sometimes I'll say it out loud, write it down, however you want to do it. Or like I said, just pull that feeling, just really sit with that feeling as I'm working through, which I really love to do. So we set our intention for that space, right? That feeling of being in a comfortable, warm, loving space. But maybe we want to add to that. Maybe we want stuff to come maybe to the forefront of it. So we set our intention for the base, and then we come in with something that we want to emphasize. So we start with our base, and then maybe we come in and we emphasize the fact that within this happy home, we want to make sure that we have a functioning, cooperative relationship. And that's our main focus along with our happy home. So we add that layer to make sure that, our relationship comes first, and that's an integral part of this happy home. Or maybe you want to make sure not only to have this place of safety and protection and love, but you also want to make sure that you have the finances for what you want and what you need. Or maybe you want to bring in wealth as a whole, right? Not just monetary wealth, but like wealth of experiences and people around you, and the wealth of also that finance. Maybe you want to bring in that with your happy home. I would recommend maybe the Ace of Pentacles to do that. And I love this because you have the hedge and it mirrors this archway, right? An entrance into the space, then into the home, bringing in that health and wealth along with all this contentment, right? So that's another layer that we can add. Or maybe we want our family to work together to create this. Maybe you've been disjointed and you need to come together to make this happen, be a team again. So maybe I would put in there the Three of Pentacles to bring in all of our different ideas and work together as a team to create a better life for ourselves. That would be a great thing to add. And then maybe, especially if you live with an extended family or maybe on family property, I have that experience. We have a lot of friends with those experiences because over here we have families who used to have very large pieces of land that they've cut up, and an aunt may live here and a grandparent may live there, where you're not in the same home, but you're on the same property. And sometimes when it comes to creating the harmony of your space and all around, maybe your property, like I said, or within the home if you live with other people, creating healthy boundaries is so important. So maybe you, in order to have that happy home, you need healthy boundaries in place. So I would put myself the Queen of Wands to have that confidence that you need to be stern when needed, to set those healthy boundaries to make everyone happy and content, right? So these are just some examples of how you can layer. Or maybe you want it all. You want to set these up. Maybe you want to make sure that your relationship, hope I'm in frame, yes, your relationship is healthy. Your finances and wealth are abundant. Everyone works together as a team, and you set yourself some healthy boundaries. And this could be even in a small family, even with you and your pets, like just setting healthy boundaries for everyone, right? So anyway, I just wanted to throw that in there. So maybe you want this all. So I would then set up all of this here with maybe this in the center, saying the healthy and happy home with these key points, right? Emphasizing these key points. So you can see how these can be added, subtracted, messed around with. Again, feel free if something else makes you think, these same things, stick those in there. Maybe opportunities, maybe you want to do that. Again, you have the whole tarot to add and subtract to. So this is one way to add layers to your spell. So along with that, next I want to go with stuff that you need to release in order to create this happy home. So these are things to add. These are our like bonuses, right? But what about the things that we need to release in order to have this happy home? So maybe we need to release a sense of lack, right? So I would definitely put up here the 5 of Pentacles. I need to release this lack of this healthy, in order to have a healthy home. Or maybe the 5 of Wands. Maybe you need to release conflict that's happening. Maybe something keeps coming up. Maybe you can't let something go. That's a good one to use. Also, the 8 of Cups. Things that you need to leave behind. Maybe it's a generic, right? Maybe you just say, I need to leave behind what no longer serves me in order to have my happy home, right? So this is a great way to use that. Maybe it's something that you're keeping yourself in. You maybe refuse to see what's around you. Again, something that you need to let go in order to have this happy home. Maybe it's the past, some pain and grief that maybe need to be reconciled or released into the past. Again, another great one to have if you want to release. Now, what I do with these, instead of setting it up like I did with this happy home, what I like to do when I'm releasing something and I'm using a tarot spell, can you still see right here? I think so. I'm just going to put this as at the bottom. So let's say you want to release lack and conflict, okay? In order to have a happy home. Here's what I do. So I would set my intention for my happy home with my crystal. I'd light my candle, okay? And then I would set this and I would say, I release the lack mentality that I'm holding on. It no longer serves me. And I would turn this over. I release the conflict that no longer serves me. And I would turn this over. And then I would say, my intention, upon releasing, as I release, I create a happy home filled with whatever that may be. Maybe safety, maybe comfort, abundance. And then I would set it this way. So this is another idea of how to add layers when it comes to cards. So I find it very powerful to turn these over and say, I'm done with this. And I'm done with this, right? And then maybe I keep them there, until I feel like I can remove them. And sometimes I'll do this. I'll pull a particular deck out and I will leave it on my altar and I will just do this working until I feel like my work is being accomplished. Maybe I don't need it anymore. Maybe I still feel like there's more to go. So then I continue to feed it. And another option, if you don't have a huge deck collection or if you only have one deck, another option would be scan in your cards, find them online, print them out. That way you can still use your deck on a daily basis, but you still have this as you're working. That is absolutely a perfectly fine thing to do. You still have the idea of these cards, right? So I like to do that. Sometimes I'll print out a copy of these cards, I'll scan them in, cut them out, and I'll put them in my bullet journals, or I'll pull it in my put it in my tarot journal, whatever I'm doing, sometimes in my grimoire for that purpose. Sometimes I have working spells in my grimoire that just stay there, and maybe I can go jot down a line or two as I go, or maybe just open it up to that page and light a candle that day. So there's so many options that you can incorporate into your daily life if you want to keep this set, you know, perfectly fine. So again, here's the layers with different cards. So now let's talk about a couple of things that you can do when it comes to your add-ons, as far as like not just your cards. So when it comes to candles, if you guys have watched anything else on my channel, you know that I made a candle with one of my friends, Alicia, the other day. We did it out of crayons. So I really love candle magic. I like colored candles. Sometimes I'll get these that have a color already. Sometimes I'll get just these little tea lights, and I will color them. Maybe I'll dress them with herbs, or I can now, because I learned how to make candles out of melting crayons. That's also an option to get the color. Now I will say, I tried to do like I put a bit of melted crayon on my candle, kind of rubbed it around, did a very thin layer, but this type of wick on these tea lights, and it could have just been the type of crayon that I used as well, I found that it clogged the wick a bit and it wouldn't stay lit, because it would light really nice, but then once that color started to get around the wick, it would clog it. So that could be a little bit of a showstopper there if it'll clog your wick. But something simple and easy that I like to do when I don't have the color is I'll just get a marker and color on the top. So let's see. For house blessings, a good color to use would be a brown candle. I don't have a brown candle, right? Am I still in frame? Sorry, y'all. I'm really short. I can't see very well. Okay, so I don't have a brown candle, but I do have a brown marker. So, again, intention is everything, right? So I have this. I can color my candle to add some extra intent, because again, as I'm coloring, I'm thinking about what this means to me, to bless my home as I create this spell. Now, blue or black could be for protection. Blue is also really good for good fortune. You can do green to bring in that wealth. Again, red for the love or the passion. You can take note of each little thing that you want to manifest with this. What energy are you trying to bring in? And you can just add on with that, you know? So for me, it would be a house blessing. Now, again, I can come in and I can just color it, or maybe I want to create a sigil. So maybe I would just do, I don't know. So maybe I'll just create my own little sigil, just out of what I feel it necessary, right? So now I have my little sigil. I have the brown to bless my home. So now I've added something extra in accordance with this spell. And that's really the fun part. Maybe I want to bring in a lighthearted happiness. So maybe I'll put with this an orange calcite to bring in that. Or maybe, again, love will bring in a rose quartz. Or peace and harmony will bring in an amethyst. Again, here's where it just gets fun, where you can just add on as you wish, right? But here's the thing. I wanted to show you guys a little spell jar for a happy home. And that's my little piece of lanyard. So not only do we get to talk about some tarot, but I want to share with you a little spell jar. This is really, really tiny. Again, you can put this in a satchel. Let me see, I have my little satchel somewhere right here. Or I did. Oh, here it is. Okay, you can put it in a little satchel, almost like a gree bag. You can put it in a little jar. Even, like I have a spell in here, in a handkerchief that I tied. So I have stuff in here. Any way, shape, or form, even in a little cauldron, just around it in a little bowl. But I have created, to go along with our happy home spell, a basic spell jar, and I tried to grab things that maybe you'd have around the house. So again, grab yourself a little container, get out a pen and paper. I'm about to give you a cute little spell jar. Okay, so of course, before I get to creating this little jar, because I am going to be using this spell tonight on my altar, so I'm actually going to create my spell jar with you guys. Okay. So I always like to cleanse whatever I'm about to put this into. So let's start with some herbs and such and such and such. So I want to bring in, of course, that happiness. So I have here some dried orange peel. You can also do maybe some lemon zest. You can do an orange or a citrus oil if you'd like. Just get that citrus in there. Or you can also use marigold or calendula, however you want to say it. That's also a great option. Let me show you what that looks like. That would be like this. Okay, so you can also use that for happiness as well. Again, there are so many options, you guys, so many options. But today I'm going to be going with orange peel for happiness. I am going to bring in some lavender for peace and tranquility. I am going to be using rose for love. Again, feel free to substitute the oils for these as well. Then I'm going to add some sugar to bring in the sweeter things in life. And of course, I'm going to be using salt. This is sea salt. I like to use salt for protection. You can also use black salt if you'd like. But black salt, make sure that you empty after a while because that'll hold the negativity. You want to get that out of there. And then, where's it at? Ah, here it is. I am going to put basil, some dried basil in there to bring in good fortune and abundance when it comes to finances. So I'm going to add that in. So very, very simple to put in our little jar. We're going to keep it all the things that you should or could easily obtain around the house. So again, as we do this, we concentrate on creating our happy home. And you guys, I get these little jars at the craft stores. I think they're perfect because again, I hold some of my herbs in there that I take on the go sometimes, and then I'll also create little spell jars. Now this one is actually one that I created with oil. So this is actually an anointing oil that I use in some of my spells that have like crystals inside, with essential oils as well as regular oils that I can actually anoint to myself or the things that I'm doing, dressing my candles and such. So again, that's also an option. So here you go. A nice little spell jar that can sit with your tarot spell. Now, added bonus, another one, all the layers. You can also choose to seal your jar. Again, you can do that if you have wax. You can do it with melted crayon if you want to do a certain color on top. Or sometimes I like to tie string around my jar. So maybe some blue for good fortune. You could do, again, green for wealth. All kinds of stuff. You can go with a pink or a red to boost that love. You could do brown for your home blessings, or you can get a white string. Just putting white on there. You can color it whatever you want. You can keep it pure. You know, you can always add extra touches to this. For me, I think I'm going to go ahead and add some green to finish off my jar. Try to find my scissors, but I can't, so I'm just going to use my wheel here, which is super dangerous. Don't try this at home, kids. Okay. I don't know if you could even see that, so maybe that was best. So I'm going to use my green to bring in some financial abundance. So there we go. And then you can the excess off if you'd like. I like to do that. And then there you go. One tarot spell just for you. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I really wish we could have been together and chit-chatting, but maybe next time, right? So I hope you really enjoyed this little spell. Please, by all means, let me know if you do this, if you liked it. Leave me some comments. Let me know if you have any questions. If you're looking for me, I did leave all my links in the description where you can find me on my Instagram. You can email me. You can find me on Etsy where you can book a personal reading, my Patreon. All the links are all below. So if you guys need anything, please feel free to contact me. It was lovely being with you guys. We'll see you very soon. Sending you all my love. Later, Gators.